Good afternoon.
Good morning, my neighbors!
Yeah, my name is Jason Tiedekin, owner, operator, janitor at Innovate Racing.
How does one become a janitor?
We're going on our 10th year in business this year, so it's
Pretty badass.
yeah, pretty badass to make it 10 years. Today we're talking about a number of things, but I guess it's the primary discussion really is
Spit it out, man.
what makes Innovate different. Years ago, I think we talked a lot more about this stuff, and then fast forward to today, yeah, it's time to maybe bring it back up and poke a little bit at people.
Well, then you better bring it.
With what we do here, we do an iterative design process, I guess is kind of the summary of it. We do preliminary design.
So what is it you do here exactly?
You know, I generally come up with a lot of concepts. We talk to tons of dealers too, so there's a lot of input that comes in here when we try to come up with something that, you know, people love and want. Try not to design exactly what people want.
Well, which is it, young feller?
We try to come up with stuff that's new, so it's a very fine line you walk, but design is fun. I try to channel my inner industrial designer a little bit, so you kind of do crazy, weird stuff. And your goal as an engineer is to kind of bring it into the realm of reality and maybe safety and structural integrity. So
How do you do that?
how do we do that? What is that process, and how do we walk through it? You know, the other intention is if you're not buying Innovate Racing wheels, we hope that you maybe have enough education or you learn something along this video that you can ask your wheel supplier and just make sure that at least they're creating and building a product for you that hopefully, you know, follows a similar strategy to us.
And good luck with that.
You know, one of the things that we always talk about is a max tire size. So this is something that I think is very important, because when you do the calculations for your preliminary FEA testing, you need to know they call it SLR, static loaded radius of your tires. So that's, you know, a leverage arm. So from the center of the wheel to the bottom where that tire touches, they include in a little bit of sag too for air pressure.
You've lost me.
That's your static loaded radius. That's important when you're obviously calculating any sort of load moment on the hub of the wheel or the hub of the vehicle.
Hubba.
Max tire size is extremely important, obviously, for any calculation. If you don't know the max tire size, then you don't know the rest of the data. So if you're buying from Innovate, we tell you it's a 40-inch tall tire. If you're buying from another company, please ask those questions. It's important information. In the aftermarket wheel world, they don't have to really test anything. There's no governing body. There's nobody telling them what to test to.
Because I do whatever I want, when I want. You know, a little Spanish fruit topping.
I speculate that almost all companies that are maybe doing any testing are just testing the like OEM tire sizes. And we all know, you know, those are 35-inch or less, you know, probably substantially less. For me, I also speculate that a lot of companies are doing that because in the court of law, I think it would be very easy for a case to get thrown out if a customer puts big, 40-inch tall tires on their Super Duty. It kind of voids all warranties anyway. So you know how these companies are all so quick to void all warranties and throw cases out.
You can't handle the truth!
You know, so I think if they test to lower, OEM tire size, I think that, in the court of law, it might be an easy one to kind of argue that the customer should have never put big tires on their truck, and then all the lawyers can battle it out. But yeah, that's why I speculate like people just aren't testing to what customers are actually doing. It gives them a little leverage maybe on the back end.
What about you?
Me, I don't know. I want to sleep at night, so I test to what I do with my truck, and I test to what I know my customers are doing with their trucks as well. I generally haul pretty heavy, and I want the biggest tires I can stuff into any of my trucks, and so naturally we kind of build stuff the way that we want to. Turns out that's probably a good thing to do.
Right, fair enough.
Second thing that I always would push customers to really ask these questions. I mean, are they doing FEA testing?
What does that stand for then?
FEA stands for finite element analysis. It's just a fancy way of a computer being able to simulate the stress levels within a wheel when you apply a loading to it.
Now that sounds fancy.
Now it's pretty easy to get. Most of your software, we use SolidWorks, and it has integrated FEA testing software, so we use that. Put the loads in. Obviously there's some intellectual property there too. We've developed our own loading strategies and our own testing strategies, of course. But for the most part, Yeah, you put the loads in, you get von Mises stress numbers out.
Von who?
Those numbers are going to tell you if you're actually going to be, pushing the aluminum past the yield point.
The point of no return.
Yield point is the point of no return for material.
You hear what I just said?
So once you go past the yield, essentially you're kind of getting into a materials kind of realm where it's maybe like 9 lives for a cat, right? So the more you go into the yield point, you start to kind of get rid of the lives of the aluminum. So the goal is not to really even get near your yield point for aluminum wheels, and then in theory you could have infinite life, right?
I can live forever.
So that's the kind of concept with FEA testing. It really allows you to get a good visual on what kind of stress levels you're seeing internally in that aluminum. To me, it's absolutely imperative. It's necessary. Like, I can't design a wheel without doing it. I don't even know how people do.
How can you live with yourself?
It's cutting out all the middle stuff that gets me over here to a finished product. It just seems like it's necessary, but over the years I've realized it isn't. It isn't necessary for everybody else. That's the difference maybe between Innovate and everybody else is we feel that's necessary. We feel that you have to go through those iterations to get to the final product.
We're just better at it than you are.
If you're talking to these companies, ask them if they're doing FEA. They should. I hope they are. For us, once FEA is complete and we feel that it achieved what we need to achieve, we follow the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards test.
I follow the rules.
But truncated, because we don't have to do as much. We don't have to do...
I don't play by the rules.
I think they do sample sizes. I think you have to do like 10 wheels per size. We can't afford to do that. We're too small of a company. So we do 1 wheel of the smallest size we make and 1 wheel of the largest size we make.
That works for us.
Historically, it was 17s and 20s. Now we got to add 15s in there too. So we got to start doing future testings with 15s as well. So you test your smallest and your biggest. Obviously the worst case scenario too. So we always test our big 8 lugs. They've historically had 3,600 pound load ratings. Now we're up to 5,000 pound load rating on the G900.
That is a lot.
Historically, we sent out 2 wheels to the laboratory, and then it's a test of failure. And then we chose the cornering test, which is the killer of wheels. So for about 10 years, maybe even longer than 10 years, I was at Performance Machine.
Here we go again.
Maybe cornering and torsion tests both killed wheels substantially. I would argue in the automotive, cornering is obviously a little bit more severe. Motorcycles is a little different layout, but
Maybe just a little different.
impact testing, you can do radial load testing, you can do cornering testing, torsion testing, and I think there's even a rim rolling test too, which is a big drum with like stuff on it. Really cool testing. Because we have a limited budget, we got to test wisely, I guess is the best way to put it. So then we do cornering test for each one of these wheels. The test, I believe, runs 100,000 cycles.
That's wrong.
150,000.
At double the load that we talk about. So you're calculating a 40-inch tall tire mixed in with like an 8-lug truck wheel, historically 7,200 pounds. We double the load rating.
Double of everything!
And those are the numbers that are input into the test lab. You can see from the video as that machine is spinning, it's really trying to move around the center of that wheel, and it's really just dancing. I mean, that poor G500 is like, the material's moving, and then imagine that's at 7,200 pound load rating with a 40-inch tall tire, and it's literally trying to rip out the center of the wheel. So if it makes it through the 100,000 cycles, it's a successful wheel in our book.
That's ludicrous.
We don't allow any cracks too. In some of the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards testing, I believe they allow cracks, but
Crack kills!
they only allow certain lengths or distance of cracks or something across the areas. We allow 0 cracks. It has to pass the test. It has to make it through. No deflection. It has to go all the way through. And then I was looking at other companies' wheels, and I'm like, I wonder if they do any of this.
No.
And then obviously with probably 20 years of experience, I would speculate that most people are not doing what we do.
You think?
In the OEM space, they have to. The federal government does govern a lot of the component design for vehicles. So the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety, FMVSS. So
for those of you not in the know, is an acronym.
But that governs like the independent component testing. So like on because I've seen all the testing rules and regulations, or whatever you want to call it. Let's say a Ford Super Duty, the testing only has to be done to the maximum tire size of the vehicle and for the load rating of the vehicle. It's very kind of specific, and then the testing guidelines are all kind of set forth per that. In the aftermarket world, like, we wanted to create very similar testing strategies, but obviously anticipate for what our customers are actually doing to their vehicles.
What are they actually doing?
We all know that nobody's keeping OEM tire sizes on. We all know that they're actually generally widening the vehicle too, so increasing some of the cornering loads.
No way, really?
Applied because the vehicle gets a little wider because of the offsets on the wheels. All of our testing is done with 40-inch tall tires, which is a huge moment arm. Imagine OEM versus 40-inch tall tires, it can be pretty substantial. And then the last thing is, we know that customers aren't really even following the guidelines too. If they say that their max load rating of the rear of their vehicle is 7,000 pounds, we know there's a guy out there that's putting 10,000 pounds on the back of his truck and towing, his house practically. So
How do we sort out the liars?
what we do here is we speculate, what customers are doing and interpret what that means, and bringing that into a laboratory testing strategy and an FEA testing strategy that in theory should predict what our customers doing.
You can read minds.
Like I said, there's no governing body telling us we need to do this. So this is just purely, we do it because we want to do it, because it makes the best product, and we want to give that to our customer base. If your customer base just dies all the time, then I can't sell more wheels to dead people. I guess that'll be our new marketing push.
I see dead people.
For 2027, yeah, we can't sell wheels to dead people. So I got to keep you guys alive, and the best way to keep you guys alive is to make safe product.
I want you to live.
While you're doing all the crazy stuff that you're doing, and that's, part of where we have a racing heritage. We come from more of the off-road racing side of things, where there's a lot of variables. Now you have trophy trucks, all-wheel drive trophy trucks, 1,000 horsepower, heavy, hitting rocks the size of microwaves and stuff going through the desert. So
like Mexico!
yeah, we took a lot of that information early on and innovate into the testing strategy too, and then we kind of coupled that with our heavy-duty 8-lug truck wheel testing strategies and kind of blended it together. The whole point of this video is really maybe to call people out.
I'm calling you out!
Because I just don't think anybody else is doing this. I can speak to a couple of competitors out there. They just saw, hey, Innovate's making some cool stuff. Looks like they're making some money over there. So we're just going to make wheels and then ship them out to customers, And that, I think, is just stupid. I think it's risky, dangerous, and it just seems kind of like a wasted effort.
That's just dumb.
And kind of try to steal business from each other. And really our collective goal between all of us is just trying to get Joe Schmo with the stock truck to switch out his wheels. That's our collective goal. But I don't even see it. I just see other companies trying to make the easy buck.
Make us some easy money.
Kind of capitalize off of other people's efforts that they put in, or like in my case, I spent my entire life doing this, and somebody that just would copy the design, you're really taking my 20 years and just taking that from us, which is kind of a sad thing.
Sir, that is so sad.
It doesn't bother me as much as it used to, because I also know we're pretty good at developing cool new stuff, so we always kind of stay ahead of people. But it is, I think over the last handful of years, it's been kind of sad to watch people maybe jumping into our swimming lane.
Just stay in your lane.
And not really deviating very strongly, So that's my other gripe too, is just the usual intellectual property, stealing designs and all that dumb shit.
You want to know why I'm so angry all the time?
The main reason for the whole video is really just to kind of maybe educate people on what we do here. And a lot of my customers that we've had for 10 years already know this probably, and that's a big reason why they come back to us. But for the new customers out there that are trying to really differentiate between brands on the market and stuff, you probably are going to have to do some research, and you're going to have to make those phone calls to the wheel manufacturers and pick away at them. But what we're presenting really in this video maybe is some verbiage or something that you can kind of bring up when you're having these discussions with your wheel manufacturer.
I have a lot of questions about all the things you just said.
Whoever it might be, and ask them what kind of testing they're doing. Ask them what kind of maximum tire size they're calculating their loads to. Ask them where they physically test their wheels. Ask them where they what program they're using to do the FEA testing. Ask them anything.
What's your favorite popsicle flavor?
Because I think the worst thing that I think anybody can do, right, is assume. From my gut feeling and my educated guess, I guess you could call it, is a lot of these other companies aren't doing the legwork and the effort that we do. They're not putting in the time. Oftentimes like copying or kind of capitalizing off of what another company is doing is relatively safe in a sense. Like,
McDowell's.
if you copy a very successful wheel in the industry, then I guess like you're kind of starting out with a pretty good design. So like, there is success in some of these other companies because they're capitalizing off of like some of the hard work. And it's not just Innovate either. We should bring up a company that I've always brought up is like Weld Racing. Weld Racing, I don't even know, it probably started in the 70s, and a lot of us guys in the wheel industry still probably look at, some of what they've done has been, in my opinion, is probably some of the best, design that I've ever seen. They did a lot, and then it was kind of a sad demise of Weld, but
What a sad demise.
that was a company that really founded themselves on design, testing, and really bringing a good product to the customers. You still see Weld wheels on trucks these days too, and so when I started Innovate, I really was trying to emulate a little bit of that. I mean, if I could have even a tiny sliver of the success that Weld had, I'll take it.
Just exactly what are you trying to say?
What I'm trying to say is like, I'm not seeing that being, replicated these days. I'm just seeing like, if you can afford a CNC machine or your buddy's got a CNC machine, you're a wheel company now. Program and push the button, and there's just so much more to it. So I guess this video is really about really dialing that in, and then hopefully my customer base will maybe really push pretty hard. If you're looking to purchase from another company, just make sure you're asking the right questions and make sure you're getting that comfortable feeling.
I said no, I'm not comfortable.
That I think my customers get when they buy Innovate wheels. I mean, we just do all the upfront work. We kind of forgot to remind people of that. In the beginning, I did that a lot. It was just kind of rinse and repeat. Hey, we test. Hey, we design. Hey, we cut,
To be honest, I don't even care anymore.
Then Innovate got bigger and everybody was kind of still stoked on it. And then you just don't have to maybe bring that up as much anymore. But I think now maybe I'm just getting older and grumpier. So now it's time to poke back a little bit, because
Hello, moron.
I get frustrated with seeing, people do really the bare minimum and just maybe put people in danger too. There's complications too with overseas manufacturing too. I see customers buying overseas made wheels. I can't even imagine what kind of warranty they're seeing. I can't imagine what kind of anything that they're going to get, and they save, I don't know, $100 per wheel or something like that. It's not even like a substantial amount to really, I think, make those decisions, but I get it. Money's money, especially these days.
I need more money.
But yeah, I'm seeing these companies pop up, and I know why too. I mean, I get the emails from Chinese manufacturers probably daily. They want to cut our wheels, they want to do everything.
I mean, it would take you 400 years to read the emails, and then you have to analyze them.
So I see how like a lot of U.S. companies are very quick to go, okay, yeah, hell yeah, sign me up. We'll make more margin, and we'll cut them overseas. You handle the testing. I know how it all goes.
Yeah, go hands-free.
It's kind of a quick knee-jerk reaction for a lot of these companies, whether they're a startup company or an existing company, to jump into it. I'm seeing wheels still fail. I'm seeing cracked wheels. I'm still seeing cast wheels on trucks, like inferior made cast wheels on trucks that I don't think really are going to live, for what these vehicles are. We're all seeing like diesel trucks now, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, and 400 or 500 horsepower. They can haul a house practically.
Because that is a lot of horsepower in that thing.
And I just think the design and testing side of the wheel industry, I think, has to evolve or catch back up maybe. Like I said, I think companies have been doing this successfully for a really long time, but I think currently I'm seeing a lot of companies maybe not do that. People are getting a little lazier, just, CNC technology is phenomenal. Now you can just kind of cut it. I see the gravity kind of pulling people that direction, but ultimately I think that's one of my biggest concerns right now, is that what I'm seeing in the market is they're not really building a finished engineered product.
Why don't you tell me how you really feel?
What we're seeing right now is like I don't know if it was Alibaba or one of them, they don't even show the wheel that they made. They're just using my images.
That's crazy talk.
And it's like dude, what are you gonna get? Like who knows what the hell you're gonna get when you order from Alibaba? Like, yeah, it's not even their image. They didn't even make the product yet. Yeah. They're just going, hey, dude, do you like that wheel? You could buy it for $500. And God, dude, like I really kind of want to buy it, you know, buy a set and see what you get.
This is not what I bought.
I know some guys in the car wheel industry have done that and bought them, and then they did find out it was like they use inferior metal. Yeah, that's the next video we need to do is that.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for tuning in and watching, listening to me rant, I guess, a little bit. If you like anything, you know, comment below, you know, anything. We can maybe do some other topics too, and maybe take this and do some other fun stuff with it. And yeah, just we hope you come back and watch our videos and check us out.
Adios, goodbye, farewell.
Goodbye, farewell, my friend. No more sailing.